Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again. This is going to be kind of a different show, as I was just talking with Doug about. I had a whole show organized for today that would be good, but I've been thinking about the whole pandemic thing. You've noticed that if you're in America, and even if you're not in America, it's hitting other countries like Italy and Spain and, many places really hard now, Iran. People are suffering everywhere, and a lot of them still don't know what it's about, where it came out of, and our president hasn't mentioned it to my knowledge, and I don't know of any others that have. That Chinese haven't, to my knowledge, been honest about it yet. And I mean, the government, I'm not talking about the people when I talk about this, I'm talking about the rulers, and I thought we need something to change, right? Because I'm used to projecting out what happens when you have a certain foundation set for future events, and there are things in motion that are going to lead to other things, causes leading to effects, which is the way this dimension of life seems to operate. And playing out different scenarios, just like our friend Mike has, war gamed out different computer projections and things like that. And it doesn't look very positive to me right now. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but this is an intentional pandemic. There were exercises for it right before it started, and I mean, so many clues. There's no way that it just happened, and that's one thing that people aren't being honest about. The world leaders aren't being honest about it, and what really. I woke up this morning having done all my homework getting ready for the show, and I realized, no, you have to throw that out, throw it away, because just having another show, I mean, what's the good of that? We're supposed to be actually doing something to help with what's going to happen in the world, not just momentary entertainment. So I thought, what am I going to do? What can I say that anybody might remember at all, or that would have any impact? And rather than just telling people what they're going to do when they're like in California, where you're all ordered to stay hiding at home and wait for things to get worse and wait for the monarchs, like the governor and other people saying, well, we thought it was going to be 2 weeks, but now we really think for your benefit it should be 18 months. Yeah, it'll destroy the country. Most of you will starve to death, and it'll get really bad, but we're doing this for your safety because we're the wisest people in charge. That's why we're in charge. Nothing to do with corruption or anything. Don't even think about that. And that didn't look very good to me, giving even people that have prepared and have some food and other supplies that they need. If they extend it indefinitely, how's that going to help? It's a perfect setup just to turn us all into complete slaves. So I thought, well, that doesn't sound very good, very useful or positive for me to talk about at the moment right now. And I don't mean positive just to be, like cheerful. It's more like, what's going to help? So I thought, well, in America and other countries that this would also apply to, we have what's become more and more a powerful position, a president, which the extra power beyond the Constitution can be used for good or bad. It was added to that position in our government, I think, for malicious intent. But we've got a president in now that is really clueless about a lot of things, but he has good intent. And I know a lot of people will say, Richard, you idiot, he doesn't have good intent. He's working for, and then you just put in the blank, whether it's Russia, the Vatican, Israel, whoever. You're missing the point. Analyzed as an individual, he's got good intent. If we had any common sense left, everyone would see that. It's super obvious. And the things that once you realize that the accusations against him made up by the corrupt media are just complete lies. And I've verified this over and over and over again, with ones that I've checked out. And I'm not partisan. The Republicans are completely corrupt as a party. The Democrats are sold out to evil. The other ones, like the Green Party and people that want to be environmentalists, they've gone crazy and taken on socialism and think that's going to be great. And just like all throughout the last few hundred years of history, they think, wow, communism really does lead to utopia, or socialism, or whatever you want to call it. It's not their fault. They're not educated. Their intelligence is sleeping. It can come back. So I thought, all right, what would be John Lennon wrote a song called Imagine, right, which was a good song, but and his intent, I think, was really great. It's just that he misjudged that you can't just get rid of borders and countries and everything when you live in a rough neighborhood and the countries around you want to invade and kill you, whether it's religious or other reasons, and both exist in the world right now. It's suicidal for your country to not have borders. So that part of Imagine I don't agree with, and we're in a situation at this state of the world that it makes sense to have independent, totally sovereign countries not controlled by the UN or any supranational agency like that, but who cooperate with each other. Hopefully all led by conscious leaders who realize they don't just want their own country to do well and everybody else to fall, which is what the media wants you to think nationalism is. That's not nationalism. That's insane, suicidal nationalism. That's not the good kind. Real nationalism has nothing to do with looking down on anybody. Every leader in every country puts their own people's benefit first. That's what they're elected or promoted or appointed for. That's supposed to be what they do. That's not evil, to take care of your own people and make your country a great place to live and everything. That's something good, okay? But then while you're doing that, you cooperate with all the other people doing that, and you have a really beautiful result in the world. So I thought, rather than say, all right, this is how you prepare. Well, if they extend the lockdown to 18 months, the purpose of that is not to get rid of the virus. It's to turn you into a slave and kill you. Sorry, but that's common sense. Because if they wanted to get rid of the virus, there's ways to do that right away. And so I thought, well, let's take the spirit of John Lennon's song and imagine, what if we had leaders in this world that were not sold out to evil? What if the people monitoring and spying on our program right now were not hypnotized zombies? What if they cared about themselves and other people? Because those two things go together. You can't have one without the other. What would a president, like in the United States, the president that we've got that at least has good intent, even though he's making all kinds of mistakes right now. He's promoting GMOs, the injectable types of medicine that we talk about a lot, telling you to get your flu shot right away, eating garbage. He's not just trying to do things to other people. It's not malice like that. He's eating garbage every day. He's sitting in Wi-Fi and who knows, maybe 5G. He doesn't know. He's just got good intent, which is so obvious from so much of what he's done. But what if he were waked up, not woke, that's gone crazy, but really awake, really at least more conscious than he is? What if he knew that starting a super depression, worse than the Great Depression, to save people and stop the virus is not really too bright, that there are way better ways to do it? What if he got rid of his traitor advisors and hired good ones, like wise people, not representatives of some industry that they wanted to promote at the expense of humanity? What if he had real advisors? Because he's used to delegating. That's why he got caught with that. What if they told him the truth? What would he do? And I thought, well, maybe what he would do, since time is of the essence right now, is maybe he would call a meeting, a virtual meeting online. It'd be way too dangerous even in good times to have all the leaders physically in one place with the current world environment. What if he called a virtual meeting, invited everybody, all the world leaders, all the government people at every level, all the industry leaders who have been responsible for so much hell on earth, and they don't have to. All the people at the state legislatures and any citizens that wanted to tune in, wide open, not secret. What if he called a meeting like that for him to speak at? And what if it was the first of a series and he knew what he was needing to do? What would that be like? So having thrown out my whole show preparation of many days for right now, I spent the whole day writing down what I think he might say. And unfortunately, I'm not any kind of polished speaker at all. I'm really sorry we don't have somebody better to read this to you, but I want to see what you think. And if you like it, if you think it's any good, we're shadow banned. Maybe you can share it. I would really appreciate that, because any parts of it that are good or useful, I would like to get to the president. And there are trader advisors and others around him now whose sole job is to make sure that he doesn't get any good information. And they're really good at it. They've succeeded a lot. Not completely, but quite a bit. So any of you who want to get this to him, I'd appreciate it. I think that would be really helpful. We need something that's going to change the course of things right away. Some of you have big networks of email lists or social media lists or other things. If you like the idea, get it out to them. And then we're going to keep doing a series of these things if I get good feedback on it. And for the people that want to work at deeper levels where we don't worry about censorship and we talk freely, interactive live every week, join us through planetaryhealingclub.com. It's a little tricky, but go in there and pay attention. You can sign up if you want to, and then I'll be there live every week and we can talk about everything without censoring or filtering or anything. And we'll keep doing the live shows as long as we can too. But if we disappear, go find us at brighteon.com, brighteon.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. Look at lostartsradio.com, sign up for the mailing list there in case we lose touch. And since I don't know how long it's going to take to read this thing, I don't know if it's 15 minutes or the rest of the hour or what. We don't have much more than 45 maximum right now. So I'm going to start. Please forgive my non-professional reading skills, and imagine that it's the current U.S. president after he goes through a transformation and does what he'd really like to do, but with a bit more awareness. This is him talking to an online group all over the world. Big group, okay? All the key people, including his enemies, are there paying attention. He starts out, presidents, prime ministers, kings and queens, members of parliaments. I'm going to read a little fast because I don't want to get cut off by the end of the show. Congressmen and women, legislators, county officials, city officials, agency officials, corporate leaders, bankers, United Nations officers, World Health officials, religious leaders, respected members of the public, and all of you participating from around the world, welcome. Thank you for being part of this historic meeting. You are great people, great beings, each and every one of you, much greater than I think you even know. I am honored and privileged to be in your presence. You hold the fate of humanity and of all life on our planet in your hands, which right at this moment and always is really true. You may have heard in a movie once, with great power comes great responsibility. It was a statement with deep meaning. We have leaders of 196 countries here with us and members of the public watching from all over the world. What does that quote apply to? Who has great power and therefore great responsibility? Every single one of us, no exceptions. Why? Because you can be one of millions who vote in elections? No. Because of who you actually are. I hope to clarify what I mean by that tonight. We are at a crossroads on this planet. We have been called a level 0 civilization by people who know what that means. But what does that mean? It means we're not yet evolved enough to even begin to know who we really are. So instead, we harm each other. We kill each other. We kill all the life around us. We destroy our own beautiful life support system in the world we live in. We may have high IQs. We may be great at figuring out calculations and strategies. But as a species, if we are suicidal, we're not really too smart. Tonight, I'm suggesting that we change all of that. I'm suggesting we do something that takes incredible courage. I'm suggesting the hardest thing, that we change ourselves. Gandhi said, we should become the change we want to see in the world. I think that's what we need to do. And if we want life on our world to survive and heal, we can't really afford to wait much longer. We can't afford to wait any longer. We can't afford to let this just be one more meeting. It has to be the turning point where we decide to save ourselves and each other. Who was it that said, love your neighbor as yourself and love your enemies? That can't be just an idea or belief anymore. We have to actually do it. But what does it mean in practice? Not just a nice feeling while we go on without changing ourselves. We're meeting tonight in the midst of a global pandemic, which threatens our lives in two ways. First, people get sick with this virus. Some also die. This is a terrible suffering for the person who dies, but also for the families who lose loved ones. We need to care about that, whether it's someone we know or not, because everyone else is just as important as we are. And we are all deeply connected, more than we know. So treating others as we would like to be treated ourselves, not just people we like, but everyone, is in reality how we treat ourselves too. It really can't be separated. So for everyone's sake and for our own, we need to stop this pandemic right now. But how do we do that? It's like how we do everything else. If we want the best results, it has to begin with honesty. We have to tell the truth. The members of the public listening in and watching us might be thinking, oh, right, like that's going to happen. Politicians and world leaders are corrupt. They hardly ever tell the truth. And even when they do, it may be for some dishonest reason that ends up harming us and taking away our freedoms. You know what I say to that? Congratulations, you're waking up. You're right. You may not even know how right you are, but it's true. The country I serve, America, started with some great ideals, but we haven't fully lived up to them yet, not yet. What were those ideals? Freedom, God-given, unalienable rights. You hear that word, unalienable. What does it mean? It means they can't be taken away ever. They come from God, so how does any man or government take them away? How can the servant, the employee, take away the rights and freedoms of the boss? It's impossible. The employees, governments, can declare an emergency, but the boss, us, can just laugh. That means the employee thinks that there is something important that should be dealt with. But the boss cannot lose unalienable rights, no matter how important the servant thinks it is, or what he declares. Still, we have to end this pandemic right now. But to be true to our ideals, we have to do it without taking away the rights of our people. And how do we do that? I said we have to start with honesty by telling the truth. Now, it's true the public will find that unlikely and will be naturally skeptical that any political or even any corporate figure could actually be honest. But what about all the leaders and officials at every level, from national and international, down to even local officials who have become corrupt? And they have. If they think I might actually mean that we are going to start being honest tonight, they might be feeling pretty nervous. They might be worried that a big change would be coming that could threaten their ambitions in some way. They would be correct. The old way of operating, that means you get into a position of power, city, county, state, federal, international, United Nations, whatever, banks, and then you lie and use it to promote yourself by harming other people. That has to end. It has to end now. Because if it doesn't end, we will just have lost our opportunity as human beings to advance to a level 1 civilization. We are all subject to corruption and dishonesty. It's not just the other guy or the other woman. Remember the saying, he who is without sin among you cast the first stone. The point is humility, not fake humility. That's totally worthless. I mean, realizing we have a lot to correct in ourselves. If we really do that, it's the end of arrogance and of disrespecting all others. We realize that deep inside everyone we see now as an enemy is a hidden great person, just like the person we really are. How do we help that person escape from the prison they live in now? By setting the example ourselves, show them they can change. So, as the President of the United States, a person who wants greatness for my country and for every other country on earth, freedom, prosperity, success, and happiness in each person's life, I'm going to set an example of change right now by being honest. And I invite you to do this with me and see what an incredible change can happen to the world. Now, by saying that, I don't mean that I've been dishonest up to now, but I haven't known clearly what's going on. My new advisors and my realizations are changing that and give me a responsibility to act accordingly. You may be shocked at what I'm going to say to you tonight. For my part, I apologize. I should have done it much sooner, but I didn't know. I didn't know. Now we have to make up for lost time, but the experience up to now is not lost if our mistakes have helped us learn wisdom. I want the best for all of us, including those who caused intentional harm. On a very deep level, they know not what they do is really true, though it seems impossible on the surface. It's true. So here begins a new chapter. From now on, the truth, and we will transform a dire situation into something great. Making your country great is not a bad thing. We need to all do it in every country. We're dealing with a virus. Where did the virus come from and what is it? Time for everybody to know. Much of what I have to tell you is very difficult for me to say, but it has to be said. It has to be done. The virus was created in a laboratory on a university campus funded by tax dollars and borrowed money, since the taxes don't even come close to covering what the overgrown government in the United States has become. Most of our citizens don't know. We have a very well-established, expensive biological weapons program going on in 12 major labs in our country, plus many secret ones. All of them have the goal of creating terrible organisms that can destroy human beings. Some are targeted to certain races of people. Many are not race-specific, and many also destroy other life forms as well, not just human beings. The fact that these labs, these projects exist, really tells the whole story. Evil has existed for a long time in our world, since long before our recorded history began. It's a hard thing for most of us to understand, because at the top levels, it's not about money. It's about causing pain, enslavement, destruction, and death for the sake of darkness itself. Money is only used as a tool to motivate the millions who work for evil, most of them without even knowing it. Even most of the people who work in these biological weapons laboratories are so out of touch with their common sense and impressed with their own, in quotes, intelligence, that they think they're working for the benefit of humanity, for the advancement of medicine and other good goals. They search the world of nature for the most dangerous microorganisms they can find, and then they use the most advanced genetic engineering techniques and technology to create organisms that are even worse, organisms that can cause more horrible disease, more death, more environmental damage, organisms that can create hell on earth. That's the plan. Yes, that is their job. That is what our taxpayers are funding. That is what our loans are funding. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. And I know it's hard for many of you to believe it's true, but it's true. So the virus is involved in the current pandemic. It was made in a US lab, but then it was sold to China, who has a laboratory that does the same evil work as the American biological weapons labs do. It was from that laboratory in China that the virus was released, and it was from there that it spread around the world. But it originated in America. So how do we stop this virus? Up to now, the only options that most have been discussing are to either let it spread and we will lose many millions of lives, or lock down society to slow the spread. The second option is what governments are putting into action now. I even started to authorize it in America. Now again, I have to apologize to you. That was a fatal mistake. Why was it a mistake? Why is it a mistake? Well, first, because it would take away our God-given freedoms, which no one, including me, has the right to do, period. That was the whole point and beauty of America, that government only exists to protect your freedoms, not to do everything for you, not to control your life. It's simply, if simply declaring an emergency could remove your freedoms, then you never had any freedoms at all. It's also a mistake because it destroys our economy that I and so many others have worked very hard to repair. We've made some big mistakes in that area too, which I'll tell you about later and how we're going to correct them. It would not just hurt the economy a little bit, it would devastate and destroy it. That has already begun now, but it's not too late to reverse the process. If we don't reverse it, we will create a super depression that will make the Great Depression of 1929 look like a minor economic downturn. Millions of Americans died from starvation in the Depression of 1929. But that was at a time when many more Americans were farmers, and many of those were self-sufficient. Now the situation is far different. Only a small percentage are self-sufficient in food. The death rate will be far worse than in 1929, far worse than this virus. I should have promoted this I should not have promoted this lockdown approach, but I was trusting my advisors. Many of them were hiding the truth intentionally. So how can we stop the virus without destroying our lives and ruining society and locking everything down? It's actually not that hard. But remember, we are starting a new chapter of honesty tonight. There is so much to this story, so much that should have been shared with you long ago that I can't cover it all in this one talk, but we have to cover it all. We owe that to the people of the world. This will be just the first meeting of a whole series of meetings to turn humanity away from the edge of a cliff. This is not just a cliff we happen to wander over to by chance. This is a cliff we were led to in order to get us to go over the edge. We are only inches from that edge now. As a species, and all other life on the planet could be dragged over with us. If we go, that is not a coincidence, it was the plan. More about that later. But for now, the priority is we must not go any further with that plan. Time to change course. So what kind of honesty am I talking about to stop the virus? I'm talking about honesty in health, honesty in medicine, what causes health, what really causes disease. We need to understand these things if we're going to defeat the virus. I have some new advisors I meant to tell you earlier, not just health advisors, but advisors in many subjects. They all tie together, all the subjects. No subject exists in isolation. The idea of specialization is flawed intentionally, creating experts without wisdom. These new advisors have been chosen a whole different way from the ones before. Guess what the criteria were that I chose them by? Wisdom, experience, courage, depth of understanding, common sense. Actually, common sense is a very rare quality these days, not common. It's on the verge of extinction. Compassion, love and respect for our great country, love and respect for all the people of the world. None of them care about political parties. None of my new advisors do. They may or may not have degrees. That doesn't matter. Many people with high advanced degrees are currently working to destroy the world, knowingly or otherwise. High intelligence, high real intelligence. They care about whatever is true. Even if they have to change their own position on something because of what they discover, they are not there to defend a position. They're not there to defend their ego. They are there to serve. The point of real science, actually. They have taught me a lot, and we're still working to get me up to speed. I used to think only specialists and experts could know these things. That was never true. It's time to really educate ourselves, and we're capable of understanding much more than we were told. These new advisors are waking me up to what should be common sense, and will again if we succeed. They're waking me up to things I should have seen many years ago. Excuse me. I'm learning and understanding new things now faster than I did when I was a young kid in school. I know you can do the same thing. And when you do, it will change your entire life. Health comes from God, from spirit in us, no matter what you call it, doesn't matter. Working through the body's amazing intelligence and consciousness, far beyond any intellect of man. No doctor can create health. The doctor can help bring our lifestyle and our habits in line with nature so that we don't block the natural healing process that the body already knows how to do. This applies even in trauma cases where the doctor can put you back together. But after that, it's the force in you that heals. The intelligence, the current, life current, the consciousness in you that completes the work. The body's designed to make use of, I wanted to say something else first. The doctor can help bring our lifestyle and habits in line with nature so that we don't block the natural healing process that the body already knows how to do. For example, I used to eat junk food every day. Now I don't do that anymore. The body's designed to use whole, natural, organic food, not synthetic food, not junk food. It matters. What does organic mean? It means grown with wisdom in harmony with how nature works, not only for maximum profit, although the profits are good if you do it in a way that serves humanity. In fact, we have to improve our whole system of agriculture so that we don't poison the soil anymore. But that's for another discussion, which will follow soon. So our everyday life habits help determine how strong our immune systems become and what our health is like, even how we age. Our thoughts and emotions, our attitudes, those play a huge part as well. We need to completely redo our health education system, but for now we have to do something quickly. We don't have time with this virus, this dangerous biological weapon, to gradually fix all the lifestyle mistakes we've been making. It takes a while to clean out the junk we've been eating, drinking, smoking, taking as drugs, putting into our body through our skin for so many years, because really we didn't know any better. And we need a way to defeat this virus now. Fortunately, in the world of real medicine, there are remedies that will let us beat the virus very quickly, and they don't have any harmful effects, none. The best medicine never has any bad effects. Let that sink in. Doctors listening to us, think about it. Who was Hippocrates? What did he say? Do you even remember? Do you think he was a fool? Or did he mean something that you need to think about? They call these bad effects side effects in quotes. But what are side effects? They're just bad effects that hurt you. They're called side effects so that you won't pay attention or think they're minor. They're not minor. They shouldn't be there at all. So what are the real remedies that we could use safely that would be powerful enough to work right away? Some are even getting into the medical literature, as limited as that is, and as much censorship as there is there. Some are beginning to be known. Intravenous vitamin C is extremely effective in a wide range of serious health problems, including viral conditions. This information is being censored. It's being hidden by our agencies. I just saw a new study out of China. It showed intravenous vitamin C 100% effective against this engineered coronavirus. 100% in that study. Zero side effects, and it's not made up. You can read it for yourself at orthomolecular.org. orthomolecular.org. Nanosilver at 10 parts per million has also shown great success against viruses in government studies, including Ebola, engineered Ebola, and other horrible diseases. It is even cheaper than vitamin C and can be manufactured in huge quantities with little expense. We can have enough for everyone worldwide in a short time. Realize what that means. This information is being censored. Why? Other nutrients are very powerful in dealing with viruses. Many doctors have written about them, all posted on public websites. Nutrients like iodine, vitamin D3, or the natural form called sunshine. I think you've heard of it. It's not illegal to talk about that yet. To help these things work, it's great to get off of junk food like I just did. Poisoned water, which is what most people in the cities have to drink. Any body care products that are full of toxic chemicals that you absorb through your skin. You need to get enough sleep, sunlight, exercise, the things that used to be common sense. They're powerful. You see, the main job of our health agencies is to make sure everyone knows about this kind of vital information. We are replacing most of our personnel in our health agencies so we can do something amazing. What is that? Promote real health. How incredible. So the point is, there won't be any need to destroy our society, to ruin our economy, to create a super depression, to create famine or social chaos. Of course, if you're sick, get the real care you need, rest and recover. But with real health measures, there won't be a need to lock down everything, to hide in your homes for months. Time is finally here to have real health information and real health care begin. I've talked to some of our great supplement manufacturing companies. These are terrific companies that use clean materials without contamination, especially those that are organic, and they can begin manufacturing huge quantities of 7 to 10 parts per million nanosilver immediately. Hundreds and thousands and millions of gallons of it. In fact, they've already started as we speak. They even have access to fogging machines that can be used in large areas, and they can use nanosilver solution to decontaminate hospitals and homes. This is already proven and documented, though being censored too. Homes can also use cheap diffusers for the same effect, one room at a time in your own house. At the same time, organic plant sources of vitamin C will be available for hospital and home use by the ton, as they are beginning to be used in China, everywhere else, and very quickly. We will share this information on manufacturing and use of these and other nutrients freely for immediate application in every country. This is the kind of technology that should be proliferated instead of biological weapons. No damage, 100% benefit, the best of real medicine. This should also make us ask, Why have we not heard of these ways to stop the virus? Why were they all discovered just yesterday? This brings me to my next apology, that I should have taken care of this censorship problem when I first took office. Instead, nothing has been done about it, and the suppression of vital information has become much worse in the last 3 years. One of the categories of information that is most censored is, in fact, real health information, and I want to announce to you today, this problem ends right now. Our Bill of Rights, excuse me, was put into the U.S. Constitution not to grant rights to our great citizens, but to acknowledge and protect rights that we all have, people in every country, even if they are not mentioned in the written laws of the country. Freedom of speech is one of the most important of those rights, and no one is free anywhere in the world without it. Our American founders recognized that the danger of having to hear speech we don't like, things we think are wrong, all kinds of lies and fake news and things like that, this danger is nothing compared to the deadly danger of censorship. From this day forward, big tech search engines, video platforms, other public square type platforms will have serious incentives to avoid censoring content. Those that have already lied to Congress, saying they do not censor when they know they do, will be prosecuted, and the individuals involved will face penalties appropriate to the scale and seriousness of their crimes. But our interest is not primarily in punishment. They'll have an option if they'd like to help us heal the damage they caused. They can do that to offset the punishment phase. That used to be done in great societies long ago, where the wisdom was much more prevalent than it is now. The collusion between governments and corporations to commit crimes with government protection, also known as fascism, is now over. Likewise, our government, and I must say about that, the fascism part, there's nothing wrong with making profit for private companies, individuals, corporations. Make as much money as you can, but do it by serving, not by harming. That's all. Likewise, our government agencies, including, but not limited to health agencies, which have been involved in fraud and other dishonest and criminal activity, will make their appropriate restitution for the damage they have done. We're not interested in punishment for its own sake. That's a very dark energy that we don't participate in, though punishments may be required in certain cases. Excuse me. We're interested in making the world what it should be again, in healing society, individuals, organizations. Government is created by people to be their servant, not their master. We will use the present health crisis to remove any parts of the government structure whose existence is unconstitutional, or if they have degenerated into corruption, but have a valid purpose in protecting the rights and freedoms of Americans, then they will be cleaned up and restaffed with high quality replacement personnel willing to be true servants of the people, not controllers of their citizens' lives. Now back to our actions for this pandemic. We will restaff HHS, CDC, FDA, and other agencies with ethical individuals without any ties to industry, who understand that the free flow of real health information must be unhindered. Easy access for all U.S. citizens to high-quality vitamin C, nanosilver, vitamin D3, nascent iodine, ozone, essential nutrients in supplement form will be very quickly achieved by our great nutritional supplement companies. Treatments like intravenous high-quality vitamin C and other high beneficial protocols free of detrimental side effects will be approved for all U.S. hospitals and qualified practitioners immediately. FDA will make sure that supplements and IV injectable materials are clean from clean sources, free of contamination, like heavy metals and other toxic ingredients. We have spoken to qualified experts in these areas and expect these measures to result in an immediate flattening of the curve, as they say, of new cases of infection with the weaponized virus. Equally important, we have plans to upgrade the quality of the U.S. food supply to create a big improvement in the general health of Americans, to be copied in other countries as needed, so that those who do contract the virus will have a much easier experience and recover quickly. We encourage the leaders of every country to follow our lead in this, so the worldwide pandemic now in progress will be quickly ended, and cannot be used as an excuse to steal our freedoms and ruin our lives. This meeting is just the first of a series of similar events to follow at frequent intervals. When I became president, I wanted to drain the swamp. Even within Congress and government offices, I had no idea how bad the corruption really had become. Now I see it extends deep into our society, even down to local levels. Our country will never be able to live up to the ideals that the founders spoke of if this corruption remains. In the history of governments worldwide, usually when a leader announces a plan to eliminate corruption, it really means a plan to eliminate competition, so that one brand of corruption replaces another. This is not what is being announced here. But you would never know that from listening to our criminal corporate media. They have been building a culture of hate the president since I became president, and even before. That is because their bosses, those who decide what their teleprompters will say, knew the day would come, this day would come, unless I was removed or killed in time. They failed in that, and now the time is here. Now it is clear the source of the swamp is the spirit of evil, and it must be removed wherever it has taken hold in our society. To give you some examples of our plans to do that in specific instances, all geoengineering is stopped as of today by my order, pending full disclosure of exactly what is being sprayed on us, who is directing us, and where it's coming from. Public trials of those involved in any illegal or unconstitutional connected activity will follow. All medical procedures and products will now involve true informed consent and true safety trials, free of fraudulent reports, false placebos, and typical scams in use today throughout the corrupt pharmaceutical industry. The suppression of natural products and protocols that work is now over. There is much more to come. The poisoning of public water supplies in the name of dental health will be discontinued. The use of known harmful frequencies of radiation for telecommunications will also now be exposed and dealt with as a crime. Safe frequencies are available that work as well or better, and this has been known from the beginning of the telecommunications industry. All types of corruption in government or big corporate activities will be discovered, exposed, and ended. On the other hand, legitimate functions of government agencies to protect the freedoms of the people will be in full force, such as production of known toxic food and spy technology promoted to an unsuspecting public. The agencies are responsible to not let that happen. Those who have joined the ranks of evil, intentionally harming the public for profit, or even for the sake of evil itself, have made a serious mistake. They don't realize that willful harming of others always ends up hurting the perpetrator in the end. That's not something that can be escaped. America cannot survive as a great country unless all of us look at ourselves, to turn away from darkness to the degree that it's gotten into us in any way, and become who we were designed to be, hating no one, living as an example the best that we can. As your president, I'll work on correcting my own faults, which are many, and together we can make America the home of freedom and love that our founders hoped that it would be. We invite the leaders and citizens of every country to join us, so every country on our planet becomes a great place to live. It starts for each one of us with looking in the mirror, making changes in ourselves that we want to see in the world, as Gandhi mentioned. A friend of mine sang a song about that once. I asked him to come tonight and sing it for us here to wrap up our meeting for tonight. He tried to bow out of that appearance using a very weak, flimsy excuse. He said something like, "Mr. President, I got killed in 2009 when I was about to expose the same swamp you're trying to drain. They called you a Russian agent, a misogynist, a racist, and worse. They called me a pedophile. I'd rather stay where I am. But you can play a recording of me singing the song in Bucharest in '92. People seem to like that quite a bit. So with that, I'll leave you tonight to hear my friend sing his suggestion of exactly what he'd like to see us all do. We'll get to the pandemic. We'll get through the pandemic now. We'll end it quickly. There was always an option other than what we were told. And we won't have the world depression that was about to occur. Together we'll drain the worldwide swamp. We won't hate those who have gone over to the darkness, but instead we'll try to invite them to start their lives fresh, like we commit to doing ourselves. It's open to anyone, this course of change, brave enough to look in the mirror and make the change. God bless each one of you. God bless the United States of America. And God bless every person, every leader, every country who will join us in healing this world. Now take us out, Michael, and tell us what we need to do. Thank you.